All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Relaxed and Fast. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Today, we're going to be going over overcoming adversity and aspects of running, aspects of life, and what you can do to do that. So, Anthony, let's take it away.
Yeah, for sure. So the first question on here is it possible to avoid adversity? And I think the answer is obvious, but I'd love for you to go in depth on it.
I think no, and I don't think you want to avoid adversity.
Mhm.
I think the only way to get stronger is to have to go through adversity. The only way to grow is to go through adversity. I think people that try to avoid adversity at all costs end up becoming weaker individuals because something challenging is going to happen to you in your life, and each challenge that you make your way through prepares you for the next challenge that will probably be more difficult to get through. And so, yeah, as I said, I don't. Everything that we do in training is adversity.
Yeah.
You know, everything that we do is trying to push ourselves to get a little bit better.
There was that quote that I wrote down in my journal, the journal entry that I read. I think that was the confidence episode.
Yeah, it
And
was.
it's up on our Instagram if you want to listen to that. But it was along the lines of what this is saying and what you just said. Adversity is inevitable. It's going to happen. Some kind of issue is going to happen in your life. And it's not about stopping those issues, it's about making them better, I guess is a way to phrase it. Like as your life gets better, your problems don't go away, they just get less problematic, I guess, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Like somebody who's on the bottom of society is going to have a lot more detrimental problems and a lot more like life or death problems than somebody who is, millionaire, living well. Their biggest problem is probably like, oh, I might lose $1,000 in the stock market, and it's not really going to affect them much. But
Yeah, I get what you're saying with that. And I definitely think in either life form, going off that, like either way of life, either way of life, there is different types of adversity.
Mhm.
Adversity. So like a millionaire might have issues with their family falling apart or something, or
Yeah.
their company going under, and somebody poor could have a different issue, if that makes sense. And both of them are hard in their own right. We don't need to get into the argument of like whether they're hard or not, but I think going off what you said, Coach, you don't want to avoid adversity. I think that's really good. And if you see on the outline, I commented to clip that one immediately because I thought that was just a really strong point. But since adversity and problems are inevitable, and since you kind of want to have the adversity to make you stronger, like how do you prepare you for that? Like how do you prep for that?
I think journaling is a way that you can prep for adversity. You just write down the issues that you're having, and your brain can help sort out how to get through them a little bit. I think that's a really good way to do it. Putting physical pen to paper can be helpful. I think trying to do something that's out of your comfort zone as often as you can can help you for the real challenging things. So if you're putting yourself in uncomfortable positions, challenging positions intentionally, that when something does happen to pop up, I think you're a little bit better off and more prepared for it. But ultimately, I think as we grow and as we get older, we experience different things, and the things that come before that prepare you for whatever happens to be coming next.
Yeah.
and I know we've us as a group, like me, you and Anthony, have talked about stoicism a lot before, and a big part of the Stoic philosophy and the Stoic mindset is that of when adversity comes, you don't just like take it, but you embrace it. You embrace that adversity and you rejoice in it. Essentially, is the way that they look at it. Like it is a part of life and it should be cherished. Because the way they see it is the good times are not as good without the bad times, and there sure is a lot of bad times, and it just makes everything a lot better.
It's how you handle how you handle the bad times that really shows your true character.
Yeah,
and so on
absolutely,
and
yeah.
so forth.
I agree. Going off the stoicism thing, I think stoicism is a great practice, especially for adversity. It kind of, if you look into like meditations, and you talk about the Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday, correct? As well, and they look into just being in that present moment and just enjoying that suffering and prolonging it. And another stat, and this is sciencey, and I'm not a science guy, but there is a stat, and I don't have the exact stat, obviously, but it was a Andrew Huberman podcast, doctor at Stanford, and he said that when you do hard efforts, things you don't like to do, your prefrontal cortex, which is part of your brain, grows by a certain percent. And when you do something you like to do, it shrinks. And it's interesting that like as we do more things we don't like to do, or we get hit with more pain, that prefrontal cortex is growing, and that regulates your emotional intelligence, your social awareness, and how you deal with those hard things. And so it's interesting as you take on more adversity, I feel like scientifically even, it's easier to overcome those challenges, and it gets easier with time to overcome those things. So that's why people like Goggins run so much, and then as time goes on, it gets easier to deal with that
Absolutely,
issue and that
yeah.
pain, and you kind of get with that pain. And I almost feel like, and this might be a little bit of a reach, and feel free to call me out if it is, we talk about how like ice bathing every day, yes, it's not that great for you, but you've also said like you can get used to it, right? It's because that's such a difficult thing, you're adjusting to it, and you're getting used to that pain of being cold for so long and uncomfortable. So it's interesting of like, I don't like to ice bath, I don't do it every day, but if I did it every day, I'd probably get pretty good at it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that's another interesting thing that we could go off of with this. I don't know if you have anything on that.
I think that's why meditation is so powerful, because it's pretty freaking hard when you have so much dopamine surrounding you in this modern society. You always have something to keep your brain stimulated. When you're just sitting there quiet for 10-20 minutes, you become pretty good at learning how to deal with that. And it's definitely not easy when you start, but you adapt to it, just like you said.
Yeah, I also feel like I guess an example for adversity, and I don't know if you want to touch on this either, but like as just an athlete here is like we had Ohio this past week, and like, you know, I got in last second, and that caught me off guard. And I think I told you, Coach, that caught me off guard a lot, and I wasn't mentally prepared going into it, right? Because I was like, oh gosh, like I wasn't expecting to run this week, and you were kind of like, well, you need to mentally get into this, like you are running, right? And it's like that in itself is even some adversity of like, I was expecting basically a week off, right, where I couldn't run, right? And while that sucks, and I'm grateful for the opportunity, it caught me completely off guard, right? So it was about getting and overcoming that, you know, like lack of preparation and trying to mentally prepare for that so quickly. I feel like that's even just a modern example. I don't know if you have anything, or Hope, even if you have any type of example of like adversity in that sense and how to prepare for that.
I think I think you summed it up great. Like whenever you get thrust into an opportunity that you don't necessarily feel confident in. I mean, it goes back to what we touched on in the confidence episode, but it's just like there are definitely ways to force yourself to have that confidence, and a lot of different tactics, and it's just about tapping into the meditation aspect and the ice baths and that kind of stuff to help you push yourself over, you know.
Something that helped me out last week, especially with the Wim Hof ice bath, just kind of calmed me down and prepared me a little bit more for like, because by the time I got to race day, I was ready. I've accepted that I'm racing this week. I'm not like caught off guard. I'm not using it as an excuse.
I hope
like,
you're ready
to run
as
that.
you're standing on the
Yeah,
starting
of
line,
course.
right?
But like, you know what I mean? I'm not gonna sit here and mentally tell myself like that I have an excuse to run bad today or something, or that like I don't have to perform or something, like because I wasn't supposed to be, like. And like the Wim Hof ice bath combination really calmed me down and helped me prepare. So I feel like I know you put it in parentheses on here, but like that meditation and that focusing on pain and stuff, being in the moment is really good. But I guess getting into our next question, Coach, what's an example of a huge roadblock that you have overcome, like in your personal life, career, and how did you deal with it?
Or sport, I guess you'd say.
Probably the most challenging one was honestly breaking my leg as a senior.
Yeah.
And kind of having to navigate through that. I had spent 5 years trying to go after a goal to come up 2 or 3 weeks short of even having the opportunity to do it. And then that summer was just really challenging because I had built my whole life around this one thing, and that's where I was heading for. I was going to become a coach, and I had my GA all lined up, and I honestly had doubts on whether I wanted to be part of track anymore. Like, was it really worth it? Because I had invested all this time and energy, and kind of felt like I had the rug pulled out from under me. And so just trying to navigate through all of that and kind of refinding my passion for running and finding a passion for coaching, because it was something I had never truly done before. That was from a sports aspect, that was a challenging one. I think my parents getting divorced as a freshman in high school was a pretty big. That's probably one of the most challenging things I've ever gone through in my life. Just having to navigate that, and having, as a 14-year-old, trying to figure out how to balance the two most important adults in your life not liking each other is not an easy thing to do. And so I think that was probably, there's been some other things along the line. But as I said, I think each, not making the basketball team in high school was pretty devastating to me. That was, but I ended up finding a different passion and something else that was. So I think each one just kind of just trying to set you up for the next challenge, the next thing, because there's always going to be something around the corner that will be challenging.
Was there any one thing that helped you get through that, or was it kind of just, like you said, past experiences and just trusting the process?
I've talked about this too. I have a lot of very good mentors in my life, and I have people that I can turn to and talk to. My wife is an absolutely amazing human being, and so she was a huge part of that. At least from the breaking my leg standpoint, and kind of what I wanted to do with my life after that, and so that she was a huge influence and part of that. My parents, my coaches, my friends. I think just leaning on the people that you trust to get advice. I actually called the DePauw coach today, because last week I talked about how influential he was in my life, and I'm like, I even said on the podcast I haven't talked to him for a while, and so I called him and got caught up with him, because that is meaningful to maintain those connections and reconnect with those people that, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be sitting here right now. Like, he was just such a huge influence, and there's just been so many others along the way that have done that. So I think just finding a core group of people that you trust and know, and that are going to give you good advice, and whether it's difficult advice to hear, because sometimes you need to hear things you don't want to hear, and trusting that person is coming from a place of love and is going to tell you something that is for your own good, and heeding that advice and moving forward, I think can be challenging, but I think it's important to do.
Absolutely.
I think something we look on, like, we talked about ice baths and meditation and being in the moment and stuff, but I think something we kind of like looked over a little bit is just having a support group.
Yeah.
I think that's a really underrated tactic, to be honest. Like, when you're going through it, like I was going through it, and I had a support group because I had Dylan, Sam, Michael, Nick, I had all those guys behind me, rallying with me, even Coach, and like, you know what I mean? I had those guys with me, and they were like, "Oh, it'll be fine. Like, trust the process. It'll be fine. Be fine." And now we're back, kind of. But that has really helped, because if I did it alone, it would have sucked. And even like, I bet when getting hurt, like you're alone on that bike, and then you have people behind you. Like, no, we'll be good. Like, we'll be back. You know what I mean? I don't know if you can speak to that, but
I want a Becky episode. A mini Becky episode, like origin story, how you guys met on the team, and I want a Becky episode. But you mentioned to their coach before you shared the personal stuff about like your family life before that you talked about your injury and then transitioning to GA and not sure if you wanted to be a part of the running world again. Like, how did you find your drive again from that point of thinking you were going to step away from it? Because like how do we want to like define, like there's so many different like ways. Are we talking injuries? Are we talking setbacks? Are we talking
Yeah.
mental? Like, there's so many different branches you could take it with this, but like you're kind of talking the whole like stepping away entirely piece. It wasn't getting through an injury. It was a like more of a mental, emotional block.
I've always kind of just been the person that I just put my head down and just go back to work and just figure it out. And, you know, I think the guidance that I got from a lot of the people that I talked to was, there's a reason that you wanted to do this and you were really passionate about it, like 3 weeks ago, and now all of a sudden, because you had a hard break, you just don't want to do this anymore? Do you not want to do it because you're going through a difficult time, or do you not want to do it because you truly don't care about it anymore? And so once again, that was a difficult thing to hear, but kind of realizing that I am really passionate about this, and I really do love the sport of running and the people that it has brought into my life, and who I've become because of it, and the challenges that I've been able to overcome because of it, and the life lessons that it's taught me, and just wanting to impart that on more people, more the next generation, whatever it happens to be. And so there's been a couple times that I've really struggled with running where things weren't going well, and and I've always had somebody that's essentially said, why did you start doing this? What are you passionate about? Like, do you really want to step away from this? And I've always just, okay, I'll just put my head down and just go back to work. And that's, I don't know, when times get tough, that's just what I do. And so now I don't need the poking and prodding as much, because I know that this is what's worked in the past and it can work moving forward. The challenges might be a little bit different, but just get back to work and keep grinding and just keep doing the best that you can. And as long as you're doing that, then you can always walk away with your head held high, type of thing. So did that answer?
Kind of like staying disciplined with it even through the tough crap.
I think that's the most important times, because it's easy to do things when things are going smoothly. The challenge is when things aren't going well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What is your true character, and how do you get back to work, and how do you overcome those things, and how do you stop listening to the demons in your head that are telling you to quit and stop?
Yeah.
Like, is that truly what you want to do? And then if it is, do you have a plan B, and what is plan B, and how are you going to attack that? But ultimately, there's probably a reason that you're doing the thing that you're doing. There's a reason that you made the decision that you made. Like, trust your gut instinct and just put your head down and go back to work, because things will never be handed to you in your life. You're going to have to work for everything that you get, like in some way, shape, or form. And there's always a bigger fish out there that can take you over, or that's going to be better than you, or whatever. And so you have the talents that you have, and how can you get the most out of that? And that's ultimately, like, my view is always, how do I make this world a better place? Like, and how can my talents help that?
Yeah.
And so what are your standards, and how do you hold yourself accountable to those standards?
And
Go ahead, Dylan, sorry.
so one of the guys had a tough go at it this past weekend, and he was talking to me, and it got me thinking about when last year I've talked about this before. I had a terrible race during 209, and in that moment I remember my parents came up to me, and I went to my dad. I'm like, I think I'm gonna quit. I was like, I think this is it. I was like, I'm washed, and I'm telling myself all this crazy stuff. And he's like, dude, he's like, 2 weeks ago you ran the greatest 5K of your life. You ran 15:07, and he's like, you were so stoked, you're so proud. And he's like this, you didn't lose all of your fitness and all of your everything that you had in 2 weeks. He's like, you had a rough go at it, you had a bad race, you're gonna pick yourself up and be fine. He's like, and you can, he's like, but you've got to think, he's like, if you make that decision and you quit right now, he's like, are you doing this sport solely because you're good at it and because of the results? Or he's like, I bet you there's a deeper reason for why you're doing this. Like you said, he's like, me personally, even if the more that I've meditated on this and the more that I've thought of it, even if I lost my ability to run fast and I could never break 2:30 in the 800 again, and I was not competitive anymore, I would still be running. You know, there's so many aspects to the sport and the act of running that I just absolutely love. Going out on a beautiful day like right now and just running through the parks, like it's special to me, and that's the conversation I have with myself. And there's some people that they do a sport because they're a competitive person, and they don't necessarily they're not in love with the sport, they're in love with the competition aspect, and that's completely fine. I think that is a great
Watch what you're gonna say next. Watch what you're gonna say next.
But I think it's a conversation you have to have with yourself. You have to know which kind of person that you are, and
The women's team we do it's like a sacred thing. Like the women's team we have the what is your why meeting. And once a semester we all sit down and share out what our why is. Why are we here? Why are we running? On a deeper level of you said, the performance piece, to make sure we have something deeper and that we know that about each other and that we are grounded in something bigger, and just kind of circle back to the why are we doing all of this kind of thing beyond the surface level stuff. It's usually super personal, super intimate meeting that we share some super deep stuff about ourselves with each other. And what it really is that drives us to do this kind of crazy thing. That running's tough, and you guys started this off with the question of is it possible to avoid adversity? And no, because everything, even a good day, is gonna have its adversity.
Yeah.
You can break it all the way down to self-doubt or your body wanting to stop in the middle of a race. It could be a great day, it could be your PR race, and you aren't gonna feel good. And that's still considered adversity. Or you said, it's a beautiful day out today, but there's a chance your shin's gonna hurt on that run.
You twist your ankle.
It's a teeny tiny, and it could just be you just don't feel good, or everything's going great, but you just have a brief moment of not covering a move in a great race, or you're running your fast. It goes all the way down to the teeny things, and how do you respond to that stuff. That doesn't have to be something as extreme as an injury. So having your whys in the moments down to the little things helps too. But
yeah, that's a really good way to
That's
say
a really good point. It's also for example, yesterday I went into it and had a really good day, but there was small parts of that workout where I was just dude, damn, I feel terrible. And then I got to the 400s and I felt great. But during the 3K, I was feel terrible, and I had a great workout after that, going into it. But that was the opening rep, and that was some adversity, right, where I was dude, I feel awful, this is gonna suck. And then I went through the 1Ks and I felt fine, and kept moving through it, and got through it, and then had really good 400s after that, and really good 150s after that, and a good cool down after that, and then a good lift. And it's just getting through the mental blockage sometimes. I feel even some of it, and I wouldn't say all of it, or even most of it, but just a small part sometimes is even in your head of that mental struggle. And I know we've covered that in the mental health episode and
Small
stuff.
part, all of it.
A lot of it, yeah. I mean it's in your head, you know what I mean, of just you could get a stress fracture, and it's almost how you interpret it, right? Some people are
how you respond to
yeah,
it,
some people are this
Stoicism.
is the end of
Absolutely,
this is the end of me, and then other people are Dylan, and Dylan's this is a new challenge, which is what he did. Shout out Dylan, sitting right here.
Yeah, I love that guy.
Okay.
goodness.
Anyways,
But I don't know. I think an example of that was I ran finally a breakthrough 800. I didn't think I was gonna see 210 honestly at certain points, and the fall in the winter. I didn't know if that time was gonna happen again, and it finally did, and it was super exciting moment. But I think one of the things I said afterwards I was most proud about my race for that one specifically was there was a couple moments or challenges that someone clipped my foot at some point, someone cut me off at some point. It got boxed in for a second, and that's all adversity, but I still moved through it to have my best 800 of the year so far.
even in some of
so
my
it's
best races, you get hit a little bit. It's just that little stuff that you just gotta mentally get through.
And that is the stuff that just makes it so much more meaningful,
And
because
then-
then you look back and you're I still
Absolutely.
ran this freaking
Yeah.
time.
It
oh
makes
my
it
goodness.
so much more meaningful when you have something to jump over in the process.
I
Absolutely.
mean, even I ran my freshman or sophomore year, I ran a race really sick, 5K, and I didn't PR, but I ran right around my PR for at the time, and I was like, wow, okay, that feels really good that I ran SIG. Didn't you run your PR in high school, SIG, Dylan?
Yeah.
Or something?
Yeah.
Like, it's like stuff like that.
Almost
Like,
broken ankle.
yeah,
Sick.
like it's stuff like that that's just really interesting. Of like, oh, I got around that small thing, and it's a lot of mental stuff. And I know we talked about it, even in like, oh crap, I just lost my train of thought. Yeah, so, okay, I don't know where I was going with that.
No, we'll leave it in.
Yeah, no, that's fine. No, leave it in. I want people to know. I want people to hear it.
It's overcoming adversity.
Yeah,
Nobody's perfect.
the overcoming adversity is that like the train of thought is gone. I don't even know what I was gonna say. I'm not gonna waste time.
I think ultimately the most important thing is where are you, what situation are you in, and how can you handle it the best that you can.
Mhm.
Like, so kind of coming back to that, staying neutral in your thought process and just focusing on the here and now. What skill set do I have to overcome this, and how do I best apply that to overcome the challenge that
I
is
really-
sitting in front of me?
You gave that quote at practice the other day. I really, really liked it. It was you talking about how like when you get hurt in a race, it's like you got to focus on if I can stick through this for the next minute, then I can do it for
Oh,
the
yeah.
minute after that. And then he's like, it gets to the
That was
point where
yesterday.
if I can stick through this for the next second, then I can do it for the second after that. And that's I've had a similar mindset in some of my races, and that's a really, really
That was a
powerful
really
thing that you
good
can
quote.
do.
Yeah, that was really good. That one stuck with me. That was really good. They usually do stick with me, but that one was really, really good. Anyways, what is the best example of someone who defied all the odds to become great? I don't know if you can give one off the top of your head. Yeah, it just.
I've got a good one I can.
I mean,
almost
there's so many,
Yeah, there is
so
a
many
lot.
people out there that have done. Go ahead.
I've gone so Tom Brady. That's the example that comes to my head, dude.
Mm.
I mean, picked what was he in the last round or very late round of
He was
the
like a third string for
NFL?
Michigan.
Literally, like he was just told by the head coach. He was like, "Yeah, you're gonna be a glue guy. Like you're just gonna be on the bench, like helping out essentially." And then, I mean, look at him now. Probably
The
the
GOAT.
greatest quarterback of all time.
The GOAT.
And he was literally like walked onto a D1 program and didn't have many options, but he took advantage of the ones that he did, and became a unit. You know.
Yeah, if you want to go the football route, Josh Allen as well. Josh Allen, there's a story about Josh Allen where he called every single football coach in like the country that was a D1 coach and like was just like, give me a chance, just give me a scholarship, give me a chance, and like one guy picked up or something and gave him a chance, and now he's Buffalo Bills star. Keeps losing to the Chiefs, but Buffalo Bills star, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's different ones like that. Even Goggins, abusive household, all the odds were against him, dealt with a lot of racism back in school, like bullied a lot, like got hurt, was fat, like lazy, like sad, depressed, and then got through it, and now the dude's like a motivational speaker and labeled as one of the hardest working people ever, and I think that's another good example. I don't know if you have one, Coach.
I mean, Harrison Dillard. I mean, that dude overcame a ton. He had to go fight in World War II and
Oh my gosh.
in Italy, and
I don't even think I knew that.
I'm assuming that he dealt with some racism in his
Oh, most
lifetime,
definitely,
and
yeah.
like,
Who is Harrison Dillard? Why does that matter?
yeah, Harrison
he
Dillard
mean?
is our 4-time Olympic gold medalist from
BW.
Claude Wallace. I mean, there's just so many different stories of people,
Yeah.
unbroken and
Yeah, I was just
Oh,
about to
yeah.
say Louis
About-
Zamperini
yeah,
getting tortured in Japan and then
yeah.
yeah.
I honestly like. I know there's like those extremes, but then there's part of me that I don't know that I love this question because you also don't know what everybody's going through.
That's a
Like,
good
you
take.
have no
That's
idea
that's a good take.
like what people are going through, and you may know something that another person knows, and like different things like that you just don't know everybody's story. That like I don't like picking one over the other when like
Yeah, I mean, there's just so many
Every-
different
yeah.
examples. Ingerbritsen, his
Yeah.
family
Yeah,
life was
abusive
not
father,
great.
Yeah,
Not
abusive
great.
father, yeah.
Like, there's, I think anybody who achieves anything has to overcome something.
Yeah, it's
in
never
there.
this you know, like the graphic where it's like what you think it's gonna be, but
Yeah.
like what it actually is gonna be, and it's
Yeah.
like it's like a straight path and then like a rocky path and stuff, and then
I'm glad you brought that up, Hope, because that's
a really
true.
good
I
point.
don't think there's a single person that has ever made it to the top. of that.
Everybody has their own fight. Everybody has their own battle. Everybody's struggling with something. You have no idea what's going on. Like, you internally are the only person that knows your struggles and
Yeah.
fights and challenges.
and that could also I guess I could also connect back, and I'm not going to segue us into this, definitely an episode for another time, but I could also segue into, like, why you shouldn't compare yourself to others as well. Like, I feel like that is another topic you could cover off that, but I won't get us that far. I just feel like that was a really good point, Hope. I didn't even think about that.
Can I adjust the question a little bit?
Of course.
To personally with yourself, have you ever surprised yourself with something you've overcome or how much you've overcome?
Yeah, absolutely. I think like a personal example for me is honestly with this injury, like I think it came at a time where it would have been like if this had happened to me last year, I probably would have had that conversation with myself and been like, oh, do I want to get the score? That never even crossed my mind. You know, I put my head down. It was immediately like I got the diagnosis, and then 10 minutes later I was on the bike doing a workout, and
He was in really good spirits too.
I think I'm proud of the way that I was able to quickly adjust to that. You know.
That was admirable. When Dylan got hurt, I found out, I walked up to him, I was like, oh dude, I'm so sorry. He's like, nah, it's fine. He's like, new challenge to come through. I referenced it earlier. I still reference that. That's a good story.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's respect right there, man.
What about you, Hope?
When I asked the question, I didn't think of my own answer. Something I've overcome. I mean, honestly, like I just said, confidence-wise, I'm someone who, like, relies a ton on my training and, like, what I do in workouts and stuff, so coming back from not running cross was, like, a tough mental thing for me. Taking, like, cross off for my injury and, like, building back into it, like, knowing the strength and stuff's there, but when I'm someone who did a lot of, like, confidence journaling and, like, things like that in undergrad, that I took a lot of my race confidence from my workout confidence, and then not having a cross country to pull from. Like, I don't know how many times in my track, like, journaling I would talk about, but you have cross country fitness, and that was, like, one of my one-ups on the middle distance world kind of thing, of that some of these girls didn't run cross country, and I have that, and not having that, like, has kind of challenged that a little bit. And having to kind of find ways to just trust my strength and speed around that, to the point I guess I finally have gotten right back to, like, where I was, and right on schedule is kind of cool too. So that is one, most recent one I guess I can think of. There's others, but I was pleasantly surprised this past weekend.
Good job, by the way. I never got to say good job. I wasn't
I
there.
don't want to say I was surprised. I guess I knew I was ready to run 2:10, but like it was a relief. I joked with one of the old teammates who's graduated as my best friend Cassie, that she texted me like and congratulated me how excited and proud she was. I was like, I'm really proud of myself. Like this is something I didn't know I was gonna do. I was like, I'm actually like close to happy tears, and she was like, happy tears, Hope, for running. Like, who are you? Because that's just not me. It's not my relationship usually with running. I don't love it. I don't usually get overly emotional in that direction, especially. So she was teasing me, and then I quickly followed it with feelings fleeting. I think I'm gonna go throw up now, but I did have that brief moment of like being really proud of myself for that. So I don't know. I think it's important to like acknowledge it when you overcome it.
Absolutely.
Take the moment.
You got anything, Coach?
I mean, I've already talked about a handful of mine
Yeah.
already.
Yeah.
Like, I'm.
For sure.
You like to talk a ton about like preparing us for real life, and I think about some of my other adversities throughout my running career, of moments throughout like junior year, sophomore year, where I was super burnt out and ready to be done with all of it. Can you talk a little bit about like from coach perspective and your goals of trying to adapt adversity in running to how we handle challenges outside of running? That I know you like to use this as a tool to get us ready to be humans outside of the running world.
Yeah, I think it's all the, honestly, it's just the stuff that we're talking about. Like, I'll have kids come into my office. I was talking to Corey and our lacrosse coach yesterday about this, that they'll come in and be like, oh, it's taking up too much of my time. Like, I don't have time to do this. And I'm like, how are you gonna balance your life when you graduate? And you have to go to work all day, and then you also have to pay your bills, and then you also have to do your laundry, and you also have to have a significant other potentially, and potentially kids,
Yeah.
and like, how are you going to balance all of those things? And so that's the thing that always makes me feel the warm and fuzzies inside is when the alums come back and they're like, thank you so much for challenging me and making me go through these difficult times. Like, I feel so much more prepared than a lot of my other coworkers or cohort in my classes or grad school or PhD programs or whatever, because of the discipline that was instilled through what we do. Like, once again, life is not easy, neither is what we do. And I think especially on the side of we are in season year round and there isn't much of a break, and trying to stay on top of things for that whole time. Like, you guys don't live normal college kid lives, and if you really want to be good in the classroom and in athletics, you have to make sacrifices in order for that to happen. But the reality is when you leave here, you're also going to have to make sacrifices at some point in time, and pick and choose the couple of things that you really want to invest your time in. And so it's not easy to coach a team, be gone every weekend, and give the time to my wife that she wants, needs, and deserves as well. And so that's not an easy thing to do, but you have to figure out a way to balance all those things and recruit and so that's why I think this conversation is so important, because you just have to figure out, okay, how do you communicate with other human beings? How do you develop relationships? Who can you lean on to help you through this? Talking about what your goals are and understanding that, okay, well, when the season is done, like this summer, I need to spend a lot of time with Becky, because not to make up for it, but that's what she deserves. Is over the summer, I leave here earlier, we go to Guardians games, we go to concerts, we go out to eat more often, we take the dogs for walks. Like, we just have more time to do those things.
Taking advantage of the time that you do have to do the things you love.
So trying to figure that out. So is that kind of what you were?
Yeah.
I just know that's something that's really important to you.
Yeah.
And trying to use those moments. And, like,
And I think this sport, I think that's the beauty of the sport, is that it is really challenging, and you do have to push yourself, and you do have to get out of your comfort zone, and things aren't going to be easy and smooth, and like, stuff gets sloppy, and you need to figure it out, and because ultimately that's what life is all about.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I couldn't agree more.
All right, we gotta wrap this up.
Yeah.
Yep.
So let's get into our rapid fire questions. The first one I wrote up was, what's a weird talent or hidden skill you have? We'll go around the horn like usual, starting with you, Coach.
I don't know. Start with somebody else.
Hope.
I can do the worm, I can Irish dance, and I used to do up close magic.
You used to do up close magic.
Yes, I was really big into
You
it.
did the worm like what, yesterday or something? I swear I saw you doing the worm.
Not yesterday.
2 days ago or so.
I've
I
not
swear
done
I
the
saw
worm
you
this
doing
week.
the worm. Maybe it was Coach Algren was doing the worm. Coach Algren did
I
the
hope
worm.
so.
I've not done it this
On
week.
Monday, Coach Algren did the worm.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
You guys bond over it.
Yeah.
I can juggle. That's fine.
Worm
You
past
can,
each other.
so can he. He can juggle. Coach can juggle.
I didn't
Up
say it was
close
unique.
magic.
Yep. I was a nerd. I own it.
Damn.
What's yours, Anthony?
I used to like my one toe can crack like whenever I move it, right? It just
Mine does too.
Okay, but what? Okay, well,
Welcome to being a
well,
runner.
but it's been like cracking since I was like 4, right? So I used to like tell kids I'm like I can snap with my toes, and then I do that, and people would like freak out. So that's what I'll go with. I'm not gonna do it.
I can
but
juggle. I can whistle really loud.
I can't
I've
whistle.
got a
Oh,
couple
yeah, you
of,
can.
like
You
got
can
a
whistle
couple
really
of
loud.
odd little things I've just taught myself how
Yeah.
to do.
You can do the thing with the speaker where you like put your arm in a circle. You did that yesterday.
Yeah.
First album you ever listened to?
Oh,
I know mine.
I knew that one was gonna be a heavy hitter.
What?
first album I ever listened to. It had to have been something from my dad or my mom, like probably like Bob Seger or something along those
Damn.
lines. Yeah, off of
Good
vinyl.
stuff. It's good stuff.
Damn. Okay.
Beatles maybe, like I'm trying to think of Pink Floyd. Like my dad had all that stuff, so it was probably one of
I
them.
have no memory of that.
Mine's Night Visions. That I would always just listen to singles and whatever's on the radio, and then I got birthday money and I bought Night Visions by Imagine Dragons, and I put it in my dad's like CD player in his car, and every day we would drive to soccer practice, and it would just play. It was like a 30-minute record, and it was exactly 30 minutes to the place. So like every day that.
How old were you guys when iPods came out?
Oh, that's good. Well, I know I got an iPod when I
What
was
year
like,
were you born?
2005.
Okay, they were already out.
I was gonna say because I got
Yeah,
one
the
when I was,
iPod.
like,
The
7.
iPod's
It was-
5 years older than me, so.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that explains it. Okay.
For me, it was Abbey Road. I think was the first ever one. My dad listened to it. I think it was Abbey Road.
Yours would have to be something off the jukebox.
Yeah, but it would have been the whole album. Like there were single
Yeah.
discs.
Yeah.
So like, I can't think of like one straight through.
Mhm.
I had CDs, so that's why I can't think of. We had
Yeah.
everything with CDs.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I was little enough that like you didn't have singles. It was a big deal when the iPods came out that you could get singles. So like I can't think of the first one because
Yeah.
I would listen to whole CDs,
Yeah.
and that was normal. Like,
But
you
that
would
is
buy
an
the whole
album.
CD.
That is technically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I can't think of like what would have
Yeah.
been my first
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
because that was all music.
My dad.
Yeah,
had,
you also
like,
have to remember that this was like 40 years
Yeah.
ago. So you never tried to remember
he
that.
listened to it on vinyl. My
Yes.
dad has like peach crates full of vinyl records from like the 80s.
That's what I was
yeah,
just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm the one that has the CDs. My dad has all the
Yeah,
records.
the vinyl. Yeah, I have vinyl now, like the modern vinyl though, not like the cool vinyl. Anyways, next question. We have 2 more. We'll get through them quick. Don't worry. You get a lifetime supply of one thing that is not money. It can't be money. What is it?
Holy cow.
These are good ones today.
Oh.
I'm on it.
Guitar picks. I will buy a 200-piece supply of them, and they're gone in a year. I just want an infinite
There's a
abundance.
weird part of me that's like iPhone chargers. Phone chargers.
Kind of. Kind of.
I just hate spending money on phone chargers, but I just need them everywhere.
A lifetime supply.
Anything, yeah, anything.
Fresh vegetables.
Ooh.
Oh, that's a
nice.
good
Or, like,
point.
fresh
Oh.
fruit.
Fresh
Didn't think
vegetables.
about that.
Ooh, and like organic that you just get like exactly what you want. I like that answer.
Stuff like
I'm stealing
no
that.
BS in it, yeah.
I'm stealing
Yeah,
that.
I might steal that one too, honestly.
I'm staying with
I
guitar
wouldn't-
picks.
I wouldn't-
Dylan's over there gnawing on him.
Look
Yeah,
at
it
my
goes through 'em
nutrients.
so quick.
All right. So the last one was recommended to us by who? Who was it recommended to us by?
Kurt Ryerson.
Kurt Ryerson. Yeah, I don't know who that is.
We
Shout
asked for
out.
questions for Goose.
So
Goose's Mile PR. What is it?
Kurt is my buddy from Wichita, Kansas. He used to be on all of our group runs with the First Gear Running Store. Kurt is a complete badass and is one of my favorite human beings in the world. So.
Well, he wants to know what Goose's Mile PR is.
My prediction is that he could be in the 2 minutes. So 2:59, somewhere around there would be my guess.
Oh my
Really?
God.
I mean, I can run all out next to him, and he can just
Drag you.
play, jump, and run sideways and not really try all that hard. So I think he could probably run in the 2 minutes, if not faster. I mean, he would break 4 minutes, no problem. I don't think he would have any issues breaking 4 minutes
He's
as well.
He's fast.
You gotta start the
Yeah,
Goose Race
he's really
series.
Yeah.
I-
Do we,
I
do we
can't-
let
I-
him just go like on a time trial?
I don't know that I.
In closed space?
He doesn't have a strong enough drive to chase something.
Mm.
That we
Speed
could
limit him.
drag him around.
Yeah.
So I don't know how we would do this. I would have to ride a bike, but I don't know that I trust him
To not
running next to me.
hit the bike.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to run underneath
Yeah.
the bike, and I'm not doing that. So
I'm gonna have to brainstorm a way to get a time trial for the dude because I kind of
We'll
You
get on
have
one
to
of those
figure out how to
one
get
wheels.
Coach to run sub 3 is what happens.
yeah maybe
Training
just
arc.
the sub 4 attempt. or
Do a
something.
once a runner training arc. He'll go live in a cabin in the woods.
don't tempt me.
I was shown Once a Runner this weekend. We listened to it on the way to Bucknell, so I'm officially a completed
club.
Yes.
So I'm the only one in the
Once a
I'm the
Runner.
only one on this group right
I'm
now
not
that
sure,
has
but-
not read it, so I will read it. I will pirate it like you did, Dylan.
No, he won't do that.
I have copies of it.
Oh well. Okay.
I literally have a copy sitting
I'll
right
take you
there.
up on that. All right. Well, that's gonna be this episode. Thank you guys for listening. If you made it this far, make sure to leave a like, subscribe on YouTube, give us 5 stars on whatever, and just show us some support somehow, and comment on Spotify because Dylan wants more Spotify comments.
Yes, ma'am.
Follow Goose on Strava. Follow us on Instagram, relaxandfast.pod, and follow us on TikTok, relaxandfast.pod. Yeah, we have a TikTok now. So yeah, thank you for listening, and we'll
Trying
see
to
you next
get
one.
trying to get Goose's mileage up. I feel bad because I've been posting. He's been posting his runs on Strava, and I feel bad that I'm holding him back. So we're gonna start running a little bit further.
Goose
in
is
the
about to double
mornings.
every day.
Yeah, I mean he would if I let him. Hopefully Keezer's back up and running here soon, and so we'll get some more mileage in over the summer too. But yeah, I'm gonna try to get him up to like 30s and 40s
Yeah.
potentially. So
There we go.
perfect.
Go keep Goose going. All right, thank you guys for listening. We'll see you in the next one.
Peace.